Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show we have got a review for Wildfire Kolma. Pretty much it's mainly going to be focused on Wildfire, but I might just have a quick little summary of the park because it's more of a zoo than a theme park, but for some reason they just have an absolutely outrageously good sort of RMC in there, which is like a wooden roller coaster, loads of airtime, 3 inversions. Yeah, really cool layout, interaction with like the terrain, great views, brilliant stuff. Anyway, so the ride is actually located pretty much right in the back of the park, and do be prepared to walk and do watch out. There are quite a few pretty steep and tiring hills. I'd say in fairness, the park did look really cool. Loads of trees, really picturesque. They obviously have quite a lot of animal exhibits and stuff like that as well. So you do actually have like a bit of a sense of the park as you're just walking around. I will say it's not the easiest route to follow. They're just going all the way back, but you can do it. Anyway, eventually, after a pretty sizable walk, including going through like a sort of like tiger sort of enclosure and stuff like that. I say through the enclosure, kind of past it would be a better description. But anyway, you eventually do reach Wildfire, and oh boy, does it look really imposing and cool. Brilliant positioning. I say I love the sign as well. That's really, really cool. Thankfully, it only had like a 10-15 minute queue. It was only running one train, but again, it was pretty quiet, so it didn't really need to have any more on the track. I say the layout is really good. So I say, yeah, you exit the station, got the lift hill. Probably one of my favourite rides is the sort of like 360 sort of turnaround you do. That bit is really cool. It gives you a great view. It also builds up a little bit of momentum. So if you are in the back, that first drop is elite in the back row. So fun, really enjoyable. Probably one of the best bits of the entire ride. And in fairness, I think that's probably the first half of this ride is really good. Because you go through past that drop, you then go into the stall, which is really good fun. I say really, really cool moment. You come out of that. You have a really cool outer bank, always a great moment for airtime. You go through a little shed for some reason, and then you have like an airtime moment. All of this is really good. And then from there, the layout doesn't necessarily die, it doesn't necessarily become boring, it just doesn't have that sort of standout element. There are some really good airtime moments. It was, in fairness, on the day I was there, running really quickly, so it did have really good pacing, really good momentum, it was covering the distance really quickly, and it did definitely have, airtime. The inversions were good fun. It did potentially lose a little bit of speed pretty much on the last turn and like the bit just before the brake run. So that last sort of like 5 seconds or so of the ride were a bit slower than I would expect. But for the most part, really good. I say the operations were okay. I say they were only running one train, but they were still getting that train dispatched fairly quickly. They weren't stapling people, which was always brilliant to say. And I also will say, as a personal thing against myself, I actually did have my GoPro. Sadly, for whatever reason, the battery just decided to die on me. Otherwise, there'd be a lovely front row POV of this park or this ride and stuff like that. They have a couple of other coasters as well. Obviously, they're more geared towards families, and they have a couple of other little rides and attractions here and there. I say it was a pretty good park. I say, admittedly, I was mainly there solely for Wildfire, so hence why it's mainly the focus of the review. I also will say getting to the park is not impossible. Obviously, you can drive. You can also take a train and then a bus, which does work pretty well. I say neither of them are ridiculously expensive, especially compared to like the UK trains and stuff like that. I will just forewarn you, it is a lot further from Stockholm than potentially realised. It might just be my own personal thing on it, but it is around like an hour and a half away by car. So it does take a bit of time to get to it, and it is sort of around that sort of like £40-50 depending on obviously the price of euros and stuff like that. So or Swedish krona and stuff like that. So it is a relatively it was relatively expensive if you're going there just to ride Wildfire. But in fairness, it is a coaster that's been massively hyped up for myself. Really always kind of wanted to go on it. I was doing the trip, I was planning to go there. I will be honest, I was really impressed with it, and I really enjoyed going there. It, however, probably just isn't quite as good as some like the better RMCs out there. I'd say, just to give you a bit of a rough sort of thing about where I'd probably place it, I'd probably say it's somewhat close to maybe like something like Tristed Colossus. I don't think it's as good as something like Storm Runner. That tends to, I think, have really powerful airtime moments and stuff like that. So yeah, I'd probably say that's slightly better. And yeah, it's sadly nowhere near like the sort of Airy Force ones, Iron Grasses, Steel Vengeance, Zydra's of the world. So, but what it is a really good ride in a really cool little park, well worth visiting, I say. And I will be honest, I'd happily go there again. Yeah, I say, and I think for a final score, it'd probably get like an 88, maybe an 88.5 out of 100. Yeah, just generally really cool. I'd say great drop, some really good airtime, fun stall. You know, generally speaking, you know, good operations for it. Really good picturesque setting and location. Really interesting layout. And just generally a pretty cool place to be. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe for more content. I'll catch you guys on the next one.